Welcome to Believe in Rams, presented by FanDuel. Aaron Coscarelli back with you. We've got so much to get to today. The NFL draft, almost a week away, guys. Rams have that number 13 overall pick. And the Rams are still in that top spot on FanDuel Sportsbook when it comes to odds on making it to the Super Bowl next season. In fact, a lot of action on FanDuel when it comes to LA. We've got FIFA World Cup coming to our city. Super Bowl in February. Get in on the action. I didn't scare him away. He is back. Our 11-year NFL veteran, recently retired Rams offensive tackle, team captain, Rob Havenstein. How are you doing? Thank you for coming back on again.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Yeah, doing great. Doing great. Just enjoying the beautiful Southern California weather.
Yeah. And you were watching the Masters because you're still recovering from your surgery. And it was funny, I was going to actually open up with asking you if you watch soccer. But you're more of a golf guy, you'd say.
More of a golf guy, yeah. Yeah, watched a lot of golf this weekend with I'm sure a lot of other people. We're in the same shoes. Yeah, don't watch too much soccer, to be honest with you. I'll see some highlights every now and again, but that's good. For me, it's probably more get the whole experience, go to a game thing, and I'm going to enough youth girls soccer games to
That's right.
kind of get my fill. So
That's right. That's right. That's funny too. I did want to make today's episode a little bit about your draft experience, but growing up for you, did you always know football was going to be your sport? Did you know you were good when you were playing?
no, absolutely not. I knew I was not quite good. So I grew up. My main sport was always basketball. I didn't start playing football until high school, my freshman year of high school. So I was kind of a late bloomer in that sense. Obviously, there's some stories about some guys, started junior year of college or something like that. But yeah, I didn't start playing until freshman year of high school, and when I was always kind of basketball was always kind of the main one, but I played a lot of different other sports. Played a little bit of soccer growing up, baseball until I figured out lacrosse was a thing, and then switched over to that. Um, Threw a little bit of shot put, a little bit of discus. Never really very good at it, but just it was a if I had a season where I wasn't doing anything, I was going to find something to do, and then once I kind of started getting some looks into college, I was like, well, football's probably going to be the main ticket to getting to where I want to go, and having some awesome experiences.
And so you took to football
Mm-hmm.
because were people like, obviously you're very tall,
Very
uh,
large.
very tall. How
I
tall are you?
I can be large. Well, I think the combine had me at 6'7" and 5'8", but I tell everyone 6'8". Sounds better.
And that's so funny. So you played basketball, but then you took to football, and you grew up in Maryland, so that makes sense, the lacrosse connection.
Mm-hmm.
But just growing up, you were just a competitive kid. You had siblings?
Yep, I actually have a twin brother and an older sister. So the twin brother was kind of fueled my competitiveness pretty hard. So there's a lot of one-on-one games that maybe ended in a couple elbows, maybe a couple pushes, and then probably one of the main reasons I play golf right now is just to make sure that when we play once or twice a year, is that I can still beat him. So
Yeah. And was he, it's funny, there's actually was he like your older brother? There is something to that if he's like older than you or younger than you.
yeah, he was. He was 22 minutes older than me.
Okay.
He liked to tell me that a lot, but I was always a little bit heftier than him, so I think it kind of balanced itself out pretty good. But I think when if you're going to ask him, he's definitely cemented himself as older than me, even though it's 22 minutes and we were born on the same day. But yeah, we look absolutely nothing alike. Like if you put him right here, not knowing that we were both very tall, blonde hair, different face structure. Doesn't have the weight, doesn't have the frame to kind of support the weight. So he's always been a little skinnier.
Yeah. Right. So then you kind of got the best of him because you're a little bit bigger, even though you were 22 minutes younger.
Yep.
And was he helpful for you with sort of navigating into this career that you ended up having? Was he someone that, kind of, I guess, supported you, pushed you, your family bought in on that? I mean, draft day becomes a big thing for the family, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just like I was saying, all growing up, we were always very competitive at whatever we were doing. So that kind of fueled the competitive nature as a kid, and then my whole family in general, they've always just been very supportive. I've had a lot of good people in my life, coaches, mentors, mom, dad, my sister, my brother. They've always just been fans of me and not one particular place. Especially being on in Maryland, it's not like they were pushing for the Terps or Penn State or anything like that. They were always just like, hey, what's going to be best for you? And it was a great thing to have when I was kind of growing up through football and kind of navigating my way through this whole different football landscape.
Yeah. So Rob grew up in Maryland. Then you played at Wisconsin.
Yep.
And in 2015,
Mhm.
you were drafted 57th in the second round. I think, now that we're almost a week away from draft day, can you take us through like what that moment was for you, what the moment will be like for these young men who are going to get drafted to a team and their future is ahead of them?
Oh, it's such a special time. It really is. I mean, you're just trying to step foot in the NFL, and it's been a lifelong dream for a lot of people in there, pretty much everyone in there. Like they're putting their name in the hat because it's something they want to do. So when that call finally does come in, and no matter where it ends up happening, it's just such a special time because it's like, hey, someone thinks I'm good enough to play in the
Mhm.
NFL. The game we grew up watching on Sundays. I know nowadays it's Sundays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Mondays, all of it, all the
Every
days.
day
But
now.
now that I'm retired, I love that because then there's more NFL football around to go watch. But it's just such a special thing and it's such a special time. But it just marks the start of the journey for where you want to take this thing. And my draft day was, if I can kind of go on a little bit of a ramble here, because when I got drafted in the second round, I wasn't even really watching the draft because most of my, I guess, comps and where they said I would go would be more probably third at best, probably more 4, 5, 6, and then I got a call, right before the pick, and it was I kind of looked down and I remember I want to say it was Bo Allen. He was my year at the University of Wisconsin, but he didn't redshirt, so he left a year early. He got a call in like the I can't remember third round or something like that, and he was freaking. He's having a little watch party and he's freaking out and this and that. And it turns out it's the Red Cross that had called him to ask it to donate blood or something like that. and it was just kind of like, don't ever call me again. And so that's kind of so something I thought was happening with me because I was like, no one had spoken of second round or even that being a possibility, third at best. And so, I got on, and lo and behold, it was the Rams, and I had to step outside because our house we get terrible reception, so I had to make sure I had reception on this phone call. But yeah, I was playing a card game called Euchre with my family, just draft on. Phones kind of by me just in case, but yeah, it was just such a special experience. So surreal and just you know, however you decide to celebrate, you got your family, friends. If you're lucky enough to where you think you're going in the first round to go to the green room, it's you're still surrounded by all the same people who just want to wish you the best, and it's just such an awesome experience. And it's more fun for me now to even see just some of the cameras in people's homes, and just some of the raw emotion that comes through because it's just such a special time.
Yeah. And I mean, the part that's interesting too is you were selected much earlier than you thought, where I think some players actually, it's the opposite. They're like, "Oh, I'm anticipating I'm going to get picked, in first round, second round." Um but so then it was I believe it's 2015, the year before that. Obviously, guys, Rob's getting picked where the Rams are still in St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Fisher is still the coach. And in 2014, I believe the Rams finished last in the division. So for you, that year you ended up getting selected. The Rams end up going 7-9, and they finish third. When you get selected to a team that you know is sort of kind of at that point, the Rams were in a rebuilding, or they just weren't doing very well. Um, what does a player think of when they know that they're sort of in a is that a good thing? Do you feel like, wow, I'm going to have the ability to immediately contribute? Whereas if you're selected to a team that's like stellar, the player knows they're going to have to ride the bench maybe for a little bit longer.
Yeah, no, that's a very interesting question because it's so new, and I always took the mindset of whenever I get in there, like, my college stuff, I can kind of throw that in my old tool belt and kind of use it on the field. But like, I don't know how to navigate an NFL season. I don't know how to navigate an NFL locker room. Like, all I've heard is that it's different. Okay, how do I get that experience? Is the only thing to do is go through it. And so I always kind of just had the mind of like, no matter what had happened in the past, like drafting me is not going to come in and turn your team around to go, 13-3. It's just kind of not how I thought it was going to happen, or nor anyone did expect it. But it was me just more, all right, let's learn how to be an NFL offensive lineman, learn how to do that as well as I can, and then just try to keep better doing every day. So whether it was, we were first or third in the division, or last in the division, that kind of really didn't cross my mind, because especially when I got drafted, it was just, navigating and, living in a new place, traveling. Well, what do I need? What's the schedule? There was so much of other stuff around, and you're just trying to half the time keep your head above water, where well, at least I wasn't really thinking about how the team was doing. You know what I mean?
Right. I have the two questions. What's the hardest thing for a college player? And I'm sure now maybe even more so it's different than when you were getting drafted. But what's the hardest thing to sort of adjust for when you're transitioning from college to pro? And then the second question to that is, do you feel like there is a specific position that is the hardest to adjust to from college to pro?
Just from what I've seen in my 11 years of experience, I think the hardest position would definitely be quarterback. It's just such a mental load. And to see young guys come in and maybe their colleges don't quite run a pro style system, and they've kind of done things differently, and it's like the way they see the field is different in college than what they're going to be asked in the pros. And especially when I came in, offenses, you know, evolved so much since when I
Mhm.
came in the league, and the offense that we were running back then is just nowhere similar to even what we're doing now. And um, it's tough for a college quarterback to come in and be like, all right, expected. I mean, you get a binder like that. It's like, all right, know all this now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no real wait time. It's, hey, plays call, hey, spit it out. You got to know where your reads are, know where that is. And then probably the hardest thing is just, as you go from any level, it's just the speed of the game. I mean, you're
Mhm.
the best player you played in college. Every single one of those guys on the team was that player. And so there's
Wow.
no,
Yeah.
there's no real downtime in the NFL. We're like, all right, I got an easy assignment this week. No, everyone's good. Everyone's good. Everyone can beat you. If you have a bad day, you're going to get embarrassed, no matter what position. Yeah, so it's just, that's probably the hardest thing. It's just the speed of the game, and then you start to learn how to navigate, how to be an NFL player, kind of where you fit in the locker room, who your people are,
Right.
who's like minded, who's going to be good for you. If it's there's people around who's like, all right, who's not going to be good for me for my evolution. So it's
Mhm.
kind of navigating that all over again. I'm sure the same thing you did, high school to college. And nowadays it's even different because it's, one of the main reasons was money. You're coming out of college.
Mm.
I didn't have any money. And so they told me, I got drafted. They told me my signing bonus, I about fell over. I was like, whoa, really? You kidding me? You're going to give me that? All right, cool. But college players nowadays, they shoot, they all got money, and so it's just different. And I don't have any real experience to kind of go back and be like, how would I feel if someone gave me $100,000 in college? I'd be like, oh, I'd be the richest man in the world. Are you kidding me? I got a scholarship check, had an extra $300. It was like, all right, hey, Jimmy John's on me, until I
Yeah.
until I run this out, and then it's all right. No, everyone's paying for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's such a completely different like concept. When I went to USC,
Hmm.
which at the time it was Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart. I've talked about this, and the days of just those young men, young individuals. I mean, I don't know this in a like for fact, but I mean, what Puka's contract looks like now on a pro team might be a little bit less than what maybe some college kids
Hmm.
could be making, and that's like wild to think of.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's
No,
wild to
yeah,
think about. I mean, I went back to University of Madison last year because I had to get some rehab on my shoulders while I was back home for a couple of weeks, and so texted the people I still have in the university, hey, can I swing in, get some work done? Sure, no problem. I'm coming in. So I'm following kids out. I mean, it's Mercedes this and that. And I'm just like, wow. Like, it's just such a different landscape of college football. But, that's neither
yeah.
here nor there. It's just kind of the way it is now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll have that feels like for another day, that
Sure.
conversation, because I know you're big in the college scene too, and would love to get your take on that.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, so okay, so let's take like a Terrence Ferguson, for example,
Mm-hmm.
who had to adapt to a Sean McVay. I mean, I'm sure the guy the day he was drafted was like, woohoo, and then also terrified. He's like,
Right.
now I have to like really and he had a very not slow start, but I think he didn't get really a lot of time until like midway through the season, and then the 13 personnel started to happen. But you think, or even you started to see Blake Corum get involved in the offense, but last year didn't really have much. Is that by design specifically more now because of the college scene and then trying to adapt to pro level game, or also because it's a Sean McVay stacked playbook?
It's probably a little bit of both. I think a big thing with Sean is that you have to prove that you can be trusted. Um, And not saying that those guys didn't do that, but it's like it's very important to him. Is like when he calls a play, he has a specific outcome in mind. It's just the way his kind of a beautiful mind works. Like, boom, I call this play. They're playing this defense. Ball's going here. Has to go here. That's the read. And if players make a play, hey, good read. Didn't see that. Whatever. But like he has a mindset of he already knows where the ball is supposed to go because he knows what defense they should be playing in that time. Obviously, there's a lot of gray area in that, and the defense has to say too of if it's mask or whatnot. But once again, that's a little bit far down the reads, but that's the number one thing. And then I think it's just learning all the different little small details of the offense. Like our playbook isn't really like I don't even think we have a playbook anymore. It's all digital now. It's all on the iPad. Some guys still request some of the paper copies, but it's all the little details and the little minutia of everything of where's your split? Is it 2 yards inside the hash? Is it on the hash? Is it
Mhm.
2 yards outside? Is it this? Is it that? And it's like that. The details of it are what make kind of everything run in his offense. And so if that's a little bit, if it's coming to you a little slower, once again, not saying that's, the reason for anything, but shoot, I mean, I tried learning just a couple things just to improve my knowledge over the last couple of years. I'm like, man, this is a lot. I mean, it's a lot of stuff. I mean, they're making up words every week, and this is a little bit different this week, but because we called it that the last week, it's going to be, another yard inside or something like that. I was like, well, that's all right. That's frying my brain. I'm going to go back to what I do and just try to go put hands on somebody. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm sure they were excited, and especially, because of the success the Rams have had coming into an offense like that. But then it's like, all right, now you get into the details of it and be like, whoa, it's maybe a little bit more than what I anticipated.
Yeah, and I feel like I can't remember, but I remember, Terrence's first opportunity, he dropped the ball. I think I can't remember, I don't wanna say, but I think he may have dropped the pass, and I can't remember. I mean, I just remember we were so excited, not we, but just in general, the Rams nation was so excited to have a dynamic pass catcher,
Hmm.
added to the fold with a Higbee and a Allen and all those guys. And I think, he's obviously evolved and developed well, but I think that's a thing we don't think of when we're absorbing rookie. If you're a fan, you're like, why is he not instantly available or instantly thrown in? And it sounds like he has to earn his trust,
Hmm.
because to put in a rookie and then an opportunity is missed. Coach is the one that's going to take the blame. That same year that you were drafted was the same year they drafted Todd Gurley, right?
Hmm.
Okay. And I believe they drafted Todd Gurley 10th overall.
Yep.
And now they've got a number 13th
Hmm.
overall pick,
They
which
do.
may be the highest the Rams will have for a very long time.
Sure,
And
hopefully.
there's a lot of, yeah, hopefully. There's a lot of speculation. It could be wide receiver. A lot of talk, it could be even depth around the offensive line. What do you think that the Rams should do at number 13?
Man, it's a hard choice. Just knowing less. He's back there cooking it up. And like, all right, if I trade away this 13, what can I get? So Rams fans, I don't. I think they're going to stick with the pick, but I can guarantee you less is about it. I can guarantee you about that. It's kind of a luxury pick in all reality. I mean, if you look at this roster, like you said, you got a young Terrence Ferguson, you got Puka Nakua, you got Devontae Adams, the general's back, Matthew Stafford, or the sheriff, or no, that's Peyton Manning. They got Matthew Stafford back. Uh, he's a dog. He can do whatever he wants with the football. A young defense that's only hungrier right now, and so it's like, where do you really need a plug and play
Mhm.
first round pick? I mean, like I said, it's a luxury. You can kind of go best available. I've been reading a lot about the tight end out of Oregon.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
remind me of his name before I say it wrong.
Cherie or something like that? Yes, I know, yes. That's
Same
right,
guy.
they're talking about him too, right?
Oh
And
yeah, they're talking about him a lot, and it's like, okay, but we do have a really deep tight end room right now. How does that work in the offense? Are we going, 14 personnel? Let's get a little crazy here.
yeah.
But no, I think personally that they're going to go wide receiver. Add just another, just dynamic guy. But the draft is always such a volatile thing where they probably get to go for best first available. I don't believe they're going to take an offensive lineman. If you're going 13th overall for an offensive lineman, that man better start right away. And so, like, even with what you just mentioned, a depth piece is like no one wants to see a depth piece of an offensive lineman at number 13.
That's a good point. That's
You know,
actually interesting, right? Yeah,
right.
that's fair, yeah.
And so, obviously, just being in the room last year with those guys, they got a lot of dogs in the offensive line room, and I love those guys. And I think they're going to go out there and do great things. And so, I think you got the luxury of going out and getting a Ferrari and or a
Mhm.
Lamborghini or something like that, whether on either side of the ball. Someone may drop that they weren't anticipating, and hey, scoop them up, go do this, or Les is back there cooking up what he's got. We're gonna find out what it is, but I'm excited to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, and anything is possible. He could trade up, he could trade down, he can
Mhm.
stay, and like you said, get a very edgy, intriguing
Mhm.
headline naming pick, which feels like the thing they may want to do. But with you retiring, and a pillar of the operation there on the offensive line, uh, how do you think the offensive line should be addressed this season, because not last season, but I remember the season before, there was a lot of moving parts going on. And, as an offensive lineman, and for you being, team captain and really the vocal leader on that line, how hard is it when there's a little bit of that shifting going around because of injuries or, positional needs?
Yeah, it's tough. The offensive line is just such a special place because you need five guys and you need them kind of out there together, learning and kind of meshing to play as one. I mean, that's what a lot of every offensive line group and every level says. We need five playing as one, and the reason people say that all the time is because it's true. So it's harder and more difficult. Definitely not impossible when you guys kind of or when you have guys dropping in and out of the lineup based on injury or circumstances or whatever it is. You want your five guys to be out there the whole season. Hopefully, I mean that was us in 2018. We had all five guys start this, the whole time, and not saying that was the reason we had success, but it was definitely a contributing factor to it. So, I think they have everything they need. I mean, you have Alaric, Steve, Coleman, K. Dot. Warren stepped in and did an unbelievable job, when I was hurt, and I think he's only getting better. And to see the progression of a guy like a Warren McClendon has just been awesome to see, because usually you don't really get that time to develop in the league. It's like, hey, maybe the first 2 years he wasn't quite ready to get out there. And I'm not speaking just as him. I'm just talking about offensive line development in general, where it's like, hey, you go out there and maybe you're not quite ready for the first 2 years, but you have to play anyways. You play bad, hey, boom, you're out of the league, 2 years later. Warren just kept getting better and better and better, and he went out there and played some really good ball. So I think we're shored up there at the right tackle spot. Like you said, bringing in some depth pieces never hurt, but like I said, 13th overall is not a depth piece. Should be a plug and play starter right away. I got drafted 57th overall, and one of the first conversations I had was, "Hey, they drafted you to start." I was like, "Okay, well, that's going to be my mindset here coming up." And so, if they told me that at 57th, I'm pretty darn sure they're going to tell somebody at 13th. So I think I think they go get just a couple good pieces later on in the draft, and that's where Les kind of goes to work and starts cooking up whatever he's got there, and it'll be interesting to see. But I think shore up the offensive line. I think we got a really good starting five, and I think that goes down to 6-7 where guys you can count on, and so it's it'll be fun.
Yeah. Well, and the Rams have done such, I think, an incredible job during free agency. And that was what, Les said, that their strategy was always, hey, let's build out pencil in a starting lineup during free agency, and then we'll backfill and use the advantage of the picks that they have, which obviously had the 2 first round. They got McDuffie. When you see the Rams now, what do you think the focus, and maybe they already addressed it, but the biggest focus was whether it's the draft or just what do you think that they need to focus on that they may have struggled with last year?
There was obviously a lot of chatter about cornerback. And that's what they went and obviously shored up with in free agency. Sign a Trent McDuffie, sign him to an extension. Okay, everyone's happy, ready for a fresh start, ready to go again. And then they go get, no, I'm sorry, been out of it for a little bit. Watson, I believe. The other corner from
Jalen Watson. Yeah.
Watson,
Yeah. Jalen Watson. Yeah.
Watson. And so it's like, hey, the biggest need that everyone's been screaming about since the season ended was cornerback. Boom, you got 2 cornerbacks. And so it's, like I said, there's no really big holes in this roster. And so it's kind of best available. Me personally, I saw that, hey, Dexter Lawrence has requested a trade. I'm standing in the back of the room now, kind of throwing the hands up, like, hey, Rams would love to have you, big fella. And people are talking about him, kind of not having the production. It was like, all right, you clearly never played a Dexter Lawrence before. Like, that man is a force.
Mm.
I have no insight on this. This is more of just as soon as I saw it, like, wow, that'd be pretty cool. Pair him up with a couple young, hungry edge rushers and really kind of sure up that middle, get a big body in there. I think that'd be spectacular. So if anyone's listening to this, I think if he's serious about it and the price is right, man, that'd be a sweet addition.
Do you have any conversations? Obviously Warren McClendon was very grateful to you for your, mentorship and your guidance. Andrew Whitworth is another great personality who speaks very highly of you, and obviously his relationship with Sean. Do you stay in touch? How much do you stay in touch with the guys? I'm sure a lot, but what's that like with your not there anymore? Normally, what would you be doing right now if it was regular season? Like not regular season, but
Yeah, if I was coming back next year, just
yeah,
with the injury, I'd be in the training room for a couple hours a day. Unfortunately, as the latter part of my career, I kind of had a couple things pop up, so I spent a lot of time in the training room, probably more than I wanted to. But they're great guys in there, and so I got one of my buddies from the training room FaceTimed me this morning. So we were chatting. He brought me around, saw Coach Wendy, talked to Tyler a little bit, and they were kind of out there hanging out and working out and get some work in. So it's definitely good to see him. But yeah, no, I'd be just rehabbing, trying to get ready for as close as we could to, if it wasn't OTAs, if it was, then it'll be training camp. So it's kind of nice having the, I guess, more relaxed freedom of this recovery as I'm sitting there watching the Masters with my foot up in the air, kind of pump my ankle, like, I'm not rushing. I'm not worried if it takes a couple extra 2 weeks. Hey, what's the deal?
yeah, yeah. You don't have to worry about studying the playbook, and
Right, exactly. Well, that was the best
Uh,
thing about being in Sean's offense for 11 years is you couldn't. I knew everything. What I didn't know is what I didn't know. And you give Sean McVay time, and he's back there. He's going to change something. I don't know what it is. He's going to change a word here because he didn't like it and it doesn't fit with the system he's running. So some word is going to change. That's been that way for the last 5 years, but it's going to change because that's the way he wants it. And so that's always kind of a little fun thing when you first get to the meetings and OTAs. You sit down and be like, all right, what's new that's been old? What are we
yeah,
changing? It's
yeah.
like, all right, when you kind of get a little laugh and like, all right, that's been this way. Forget it. It's never happened. It's now this. Like, okay, got it. And then you ask why, and so he tells Sean's reasoning, and you're like, all right. I mean, that's boss man. That's the way it's going to go. But it's always a good laugh there because you give coaches time. Oh man, it's the worst thing for the players. They're going to come back with some crazy idea, some change that didn't need to be made, but they felt it necessary, and so it's always kind of a fun thing.
That's why I'm so excited. I get to have some time with you, and hopefully throughout the season, because I just can't wait to pick your brain. Like I'm dying to hear. We won't have time today, but we'll get him back and we'll talk to him because I want to know, just like almost like every game, how you or the team was feeling in these dynamics. Obviously, the big thing too was the various dynamics of the Seattle game.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I had Andrew Whitworth on, he had said to me, he goes, the biggest thing you need to have as a player, but in life, is the ability to be, have agility, be able to to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that you just said that I found interesting is, the media made a thing of how Sean would call the plays and Stafford go, "Oh my God, he's still going. He's still
Oh,
going." Like he would just keep going. And the dynamic between the two must have been just, that's like you're in the huddle for moments like that, and he just is rattling off plays. And what are you thinking?
yeah. So that specific one. I think we were playing Seattle too. We were down in the red zone, and it was off a TV timeout, and so Sean gets it, and he wants to kind of give it to Matthew so he can give it to us as early as possible, and we can kind of chew on that. And like, all right, how are they? What do they play? What do they do? We just get a little more time to think about the play that we're trying to run. So he comes in and gives his play. Oh, then you can kind of hear the going in his ear. He's like, all right, he's changing it. So, it's TV timeout. So I'm half leaning in, half not. And Matthews, got his hand up, eyes kind of down at the ground. And that's just how quarterbacks hear. And so, boom, he snaps up, tells us. And then he kind of still hear it going. He changes it again. And it's, what are we running right now? And so Matthew was just at the point where he's like, dude, we can't even play football right now because we physically can't do it. We're in a TV timeout. And so the play just here to there, change this, remind the X, he's got this. Hey, right tackle. That's when he was when he comes in, he turns to me and goes, hey, if this guy's in a standing up or down, he smacks him and he's like, hey, you go get that guy. That was actually to me, and it was kind of a little laugh and be like, yeah, okay, so what I'm supposed to do on the play, I should go do on it. Got it, coach. And it's just I'm sure with that just kind of buzzing in your ear the whole time while you're trying to talk. That's got to be a disorienting thing. Especially when he's on my sideline, you can just hear it just going, and his ability to kind of tune that out once he hears it and then just spit the play out to you is uncanny, because I know I couldn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I love is your perspective into that game. Giving Stafford so much credit because he's got to be like a brilliant offensive coordinator, essentially.
Oh, yeah,
just
100%. Brilliant.
And dealing with McVay, who's given him crazy,
crazy changes, crazy this. Oh yeah,
crazy changes on, and if anyone's off, the play could collapse or something could happen. And I think that's amazing that you guys managed to do that, and the dynamic between Stafford and McVay, and then just like the success of it all, it just ends up working. So.
Well, winning solves a lot of things. So
Yeah.
winning,
but that's what what Worth said. He's like, you just have to be flexible. You have to adapt. And would you say what would you say that the most important quality for an NFL offensive lineman on a Sean McVay team needs to have?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Most important quality. Focus. I would say focus would be the main one, because focus in those moments in the games, but it's the focus to learn the plays, when they've been taught. I've heard Tyler Higbee talk about it a lot, where they go get force fed 45 different red zone plays, for in a hour and a half, 2 hour meeting right before we go to the walkthrough. And when they go to the walkthrough, like, that's the focus you need to have. It's like, our walkthroughs are not, kind of jack around time. Like, it is, this better be crisp, better be the way we want it to our standards. It's just without the physical nature. So it's probably more mental strain than you would get in practice, because there's no physical part. There's only the mental part. And you just got force fed this 45 minutes earlier. So it's like, all right, hey, take that, everything there, all the notes you wrote, little reminders you had, you have to go do that now. And it's got to be good. And, maybe you get a one or two, like, hey, sorry, hey, hey, my bad, coaches. And then it's going to be a little bit of we always call them the anger sharks for Sean. You kind of see him start bubbling up, be like, I just taught this. Why are you not getting it? But yeah, focus would definitely be the biggest one, because it's, like I said, there's a lot of different details. There's a standard and a way we go about doing things. And we believe that's a recipe for success. I think the proof's in the pudding. And so when you don't have the focus and you're not on board with how we're doing things, you stick out a lot. And so it's almost kind of not so rigid, but it's conform or die a little bit, because you will stick out very, very much in a Sean McVay offense and a Sean McVay led team.
Wow. Yeah. And that's the thing, I think when as media, he remembers everything. And I'm like, how is he so focused all the time? Like, the guy's always present. It's insane. I'm like, you're right. The mental strain as much as the physical,
Hmm.
the concept of a football player or even a football coach, I'm just it's a sacrifice and it doesn't get enough credit. So we've got the draft in almost a week. So of course, plenty more insight from Rob Havenstein, recently retired 11-year Ram offensive tackle, a legend. Love having you on. Let's do this again.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Aaron.